Fabian Zetterlund had his breakout season with the San Jose Sharks. What's next for the Swedish winger?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, probably part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, even when they don't have a coach. So if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be talking about Fabian Zetterlund in his breakout season. Look at kind of the numbers behind this season for him. Look at his stats, why the breakout happened this year, and then what's next for Zetterlund as he goes into a contract year with the Sharks. So we're going to be digging into all that. Before we do that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side. As a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on the classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or on Google Play. So, Fabian Zetterlund, who, myself included, basically I think 99% of Sharks fans this time last year was like, what did we get with Fabian Zetterlund, who, remember, had 3 points in 22 games after the Timo Meier trade. Did not look like what we had been promised from New Jersey Devils fans. Fast forward a year, and Fabian Zetterlund, pretty good at hockey, as we've come to find out. So let's dig into kind of the stats behind his season, and kind of helps tell the story of Fabian Zetterlund's breakout. So, pulling it up now on the old YouTube. So Zetterlund, who is going to be entering this year with 1 year on his $1.45 million contract, still will be an RFA, so the Sharks will control his rights, and we'll have plenty of time to discuss kind of what his next contract looks like, et cetera, et cetera. But only San Jose Shark this year played all 82 games, led the team with 24 goals, chipped in another 20 assists, 204 shots on goal, played 1851 average time on ice. Corsi for 42.49, goals for 41.74. So again, something to keep in mind. As I will say with all these reviews, Corsi for, goals for, those things are all going to skew pretty negatively because of how poor this Sharks team was, right? This was the team that got outshot most nights, got outscored most nights, and that's going to reflect in no matter who was out there, you're going to see those kind of negative numbers there. So as for Zetterlund, pulling up his the athletic player card, so offensive rating was considered plus for him, defensive rating minus. I'm not sure, again, how they kind of pull up their defensive ratings and such. Did have 24 goals and 20 assists. Like I said, expected goals for was 24. So he was right where he was supposed to be when it came to actually scoring goals. On ice, his defense, again, I'm not going to put too much stock into the Sharks, time on ice, all that fun stuff, just because of how poor this team was defensively through up and down, right? As I mentioned before. So, and then from Evolving Hockey, 40th overall percentile, played way above first line minutes this year, 71th percentile offensively, 10th percentile defensively, played on the first line power play over 200 minutes power play, 58 minutes shorthanded, where he was a positive in that area. And that is, we'll talk about more kind of, what's next for him. And that is somewhere I want to continue to see Zetterlund grow and develop, is playing in that shorthanded role. Did have a shorthanded goal this year as well. Kind of didn't draw as many penalties as you would like, was good at not taking that many penalties. Goals above replacement and expected goals above replacement, both positive for Fabian Zetterlund. So, I think kind of the big thing from Zetterlund was the breakout, right, that we saw from him this year, and that goal scoring touch. And this he set career high one in games played. Goals, like I said, he had 24 goals, led the team. Assists, 20 goals, that was a career high. Points, 44. That almost doubled. So his career high before this was 23 points, which was last year. So was really close to doubling his career high in points. And where he got the goals from is, he had, of his 24 goals, 17 of them even strength. So it wasn't like he was just kind of relying on the power play to kind of fill up that goal total. Did have 6 power play goals and also a shorthanded goal as well. And the assists were split 50-50 between the power play and the even strength. But we'll kind of talk about the reasons why here in a minute. But a big reason was just he got an opportunity this year. Last year he was averaging 1315 time on ice total. With the Devils, he was averaging a little under 13 minutes. With the Sharks, he was averaging a little under 14 minutes. This year, 1851. So he saw that ice time really jump up this year. And not only playing a lot of games, but playing quality minutes, right? Playing on the power play, playing on top line minutes for the Sharks. And I think he rewarded the Sharks for his efforts this year, especially given, yes, how bad this team was. But, right, who on the Sharks is like, man, Fabian Zetterlund, he's a bum, like, of Sharks fans, right? Last year at this time, we were, like I mentioned, what did we get? What happened? This guy, 3 assists, looked, out of place, et cetera, et cetera. Had a monster off season, came in and, was one of the best, most consistent Sharks players this year, especially among the forwards. I would say Mikael Granlund, of course, the MVP of the Sharks, being number one. But Zetterlund was a huge reason for just the way he played and taking advantage of the opportunity. And even when things kind of would go bad, Quinn, before he was fired, but David Quinn would say, I'm not going to demote Zetterlund because he's kind of earned the benefit of the doubt with his play this year. So I think that's really, really positive news for the Sharks as we keep getting further and further away from the Timo Meier trade, and looking at what assets you're really going to have. And, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but Quentin Musty is looking like an absolute monster. Shakir Mukhamadullin we'll see, but he had a great AHL season. Hopefully he can, earn an NHL spot next year. And Fabian Zetterlund looks to be a really, really, high-end middle six scorer for you on a good team. And right now is, I think, had that breakout season I know a lot of Devils fans were looking for. So I think as we've gotten out of this, kind of started to step away from the Timo Meier trade, as Sharks fans, you have to feel really, really good about the pieces and how they're coming along. And, again, Timo Meier, great player, one of those Sharks players, I think, fan favorite. But again, was the right move for San Jose to trade Timo Meier instead of paying him, the $8+ million he's getting right now from the New Jersey Devils. And, is Fabian Zetterlund going to be as good as Timo Meier? Probably not, but can Quentin Musty? Potentially. Can Quentin Musty, Fabian Zetterlund, and Shakir Mukhamadullin combined be worth more than Timo Meier? Plus whatever happens with your second round pick this year. So I think overall though, you have to be really, really happy with the huge steps Fabian Zetterlund took, not only on the ice, but off the ice as well. And we'll kind of talk about some of that next and kind of talk about what's, if this is maybe just the tip of the iceberg for Zetterlund. So we'll get to that here in just 1 minute. It's playoff time with the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. It's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit fanduel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And if you want to go check out an NBA game, you want to catch a Giants game, A's game, whatever, you got to go check out FanDuel. They have killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seats, and the lowest price guaranteed. Game time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. The thing I love about them is you can actually view your seat, what it's going to look like before you even enter. Nothing worse than getting to a place and realizing you got bad seats. Actually, the only thing worse is when you go to check out and you get slammed with a bunch of fees. With their all-in pricing, you know exactly what you're going to pay when you go to check out. No surprises. They just make it easy for you. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so Zetterlund, great season, breakout season, 24 goals. What's next? Like, what is this? What's the encore, right? And I think there is a real reason to believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg for Zetterlund. One, because I think the Sharks are going to be a little bit better next year. Whether that's just from some of your young guys playing more, right? William Eklund, kind of that second full season. Whatever happens with potential draft capital, et cetera, et cetera. And I think just the infusion of talent that I think is going to start to happen this offseason. I think the Sharks, again, are they going to be a playoff team? No. Are they going to be one of the worst teams that we have seen in the last 30 years? That's no, right? I think that's where you instead of being a historically bad team, just be a bad team next year. And the hope is, right, you expect Granlund, Eklund, and Zetterlund to all be back in their current roles, right? Eklund's not going anywhere. Granlund does have 1 year left on his deal, and he'll be a potential trade target at the trade deadline. But I don't picture Granlund going anywhere this summer, right? I think the Sharks are going to keep him around, especially for what he brings both on and off the ice. So can that mean that maybe the Lund Line, which had a lot of success at the end of the season, can it continue, especially if it is kind of rolled into place going into next year? And we'll see what happens, right? There's a lot of questions with the, we were really far away with who gets added in free agency, who gets added via, potential draft picks, who the coaches, et cetera, et cetera. But the Lund Line last year, they played at even strength. They played basically 120 minutes last season. They had 8 goals for 9 assists, which is okay. Or 8 goals for 9 goals allowed. Shots for 56 to 71. So again, remember, all of these shots for are going to be kind of skewed. Shot attempts 118 to 142. So they did a solid, that was actually better, kind of little bit better percentages than the Granlund Duclair Zetterlund line, which played almost 25% of Zetterlund's time on ice together, at least at 5v5. So if you expect Eklund to kind of take another leap, right? Continue, have a strong second season, right? That's the hope. Granlund continues to play the way he played, especially because he's going to be the 1C. You hope, fingers crossed, no injury concerns coming into the season. If that line, and if whatever they do in the middle six So you don't have guys like Luke Cunnin, who's, again, God bless Luke Cunnin and what he does. But if Logan Couture comes back healthy, you can get a more competent middle six. We can kind of spread out you're not having the other team just having to focus on one line, which the Sharks were basically a one line team at the end of the season. I don't see why Zetterlund can't flirt with 35 goals next year. This year he shot his shooting percentage, jumped up this year. Before last year's shooting percentage was 7.4 with the Devils. Before that was 8.3 with the Devils. But this year jumped up to 11.8%. Yes, that's a huge jump, and maybe there's some regression there, but it's not like the Sharks have a ton of shooters on this team. And now with Anthony Duclair gone, right? Duclair took a ton of shots for the Sharks. Zetterlund's going to kind of step into that role right now of being the primary focus on the team when it comes to kind of getting shots off. And, you're playing with Mikael Granlund, who's a pass first player, and Eklund, who's kind of known for being more of a playmaker, but we saw his shooting, I think, really take a big step this season compared to what we've seen in the AHL and his smallest, times in the NHL. I expect Eklund to continue to get better, but I still think Zetterlund's going to be kind of the main trigger guy going into this season. Like, he's going to be looked at as the team's top scoring option going into the season next year. And again, maybe the Sharks go crazy and do something in free agency, or even if they draft somebody in Smith, if Will Smith comes over or Celebrini or whoever, kind of enters the fray. I don't expect those guys to kind of just jump in and be 20, 25 goal scorers right away, right? So I think Zetterlund has a real opportunity there next year just because of he's the guy. I think to kind of take a step and be a 30, 35 goal scorer, which is what we were hoping out of Timo Meier, until he kind of finally did it before he got traded. We were asking, can Timo Meier be a 40 goal scorer? And sure enough, he was a 40 goal scorer, this season. He got traded because he was the guy, right? It was Timo Meier taking a bajillion shots a game. I don't think Zetterlund's going to be that type of player, right? Where he's, kind of leading the league in shots on goal. But I fully expect him to lead the Sharks in shots on goal next year. I really think he has a chance to hit that 30, 35 goal mark, especially if he can continue to develop in the other areas. If he can become a short, like playing on the penalty kill, and become a kind of that power kill type of player who's scoring shorthanded goals. Again, I'm not expecting something crazy, but he had one this year. If he can have 2 or 3 next year, there's a couple more, on the power play, which, I know Eklund scored most of his goals on the power play, but for guys scoring 24 goals, only getting 6 of them on the power play. If the power play continues, and again, a lot of questions there with who's going to be coaching it, what's it going to look like, all that fun stuff. But there's a real chance for, I think, if kind of the math, right? If you can get to like 22 to 25 goals, even strength. He had 17 last year on one of the worst teams in the NHL. You get close to 10 shorthanded between not shorthanded, 10 shorthanded would be insane. 10 goals on special teams, whether it's like 8 power play, 2 shorthanded, right? Like that gets you to 35 right there. So I really think Zetterlund can kind of be that, and that's going to set him up for I think Mike Greer's first big contract decision going forward with Fabian Zetterlund. So we'll get to that here in just a minute and kind of look at what's expected of Zetterlund, kind of a broader topic of what's next for Fabian Zetterlund. So we'll get to that here in just 1 minute. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play or hooking, or whichever hockey penalty you want to call. You already talked about that, but there's so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for tournaments where you can work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to win together. Unique stickers you can trade with your friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel boards with hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton, including their own unique mini games like digging for treasures, a robot pachinko machine, and there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now for free on the Google Play or the App Store. Game on. All right, so what is next for Fabian Zetterlund, and kind of a bigger, broader thing? And I think Zetterlund should be looked at as a long-term piece for the Sharks, right? 24 years old, is still kind of entering his prime. He'll be 25 here, by the time the season starts. So, and like I said, going into the last year of his deal, I'm sure he's going to be a very popular potential trade candidate from all the lists and, et cetera, et cetera. Like, does a team want to trade for Fabian Zetterlund? And I can see that, but I think, like we mentioned, right, you have to start building at some point. And Fabian Zetterlund, again, turning 25, and I'm very curious to see how Mike Grier handles this potential contract extension with him, right? Especially if Zetterlund turns around and has kind of builds on this season, right? If he puts up a 24 goal season on, again, one of the worst teams in modern NHL history, and follows it up with a 30-35 goal performance as the team continues to get better, you could be looking at like a 5x5 type of deal. I think is very fair to kind of look at to type of pay him for Zetterlund as the cap continues to grow, and if he continues to grow and develop the way you want him to do so. It will be interesting, though, how Mike Grier plays this, because as well as Fabian Zetterlund has been doing on the Sharks, on good to great teams, Zetterlund is probably more of a middle six type of player, right? And the hope is Zetterlund continues to be awesome and continues to kind of grow. But realistically, as you get players in with higher ceilings, Quentin Musty's, Will Smith's, Casper Haltonen's, whoever, right? As these guys start to kind of infiltrate into the team and get solidified, guys like, Fabian Zetterlund's probably going to get bumped down to more of a middle six type of role. So does Zetterlund continue to produce when maybe not playing 19 minutes a night, but maybe is playing 17 minutes a night? Well, 2 minutes a night doesn't sound like a lot, but right, I think that's going to be the game that Mike Grier is going to have to play. Is, yes, do I want to reward my, this is probably going to be that first big-ish extension from Mike Grier, right? So far, the biggest contract he's given out is the Mario Ferraro deal at 4 years at $3.25 million. And I expect Zetterlund to surpass that, because I think Zetterlund's a better player than Mario Ferraro. Yes, I know they play different positions, et cetera, but I just think Mario Ferraro's I think Fabian Zetterlund is just a better player than Mario Ferraro. So I'm curious to see how Mike Grier handles this and stuff. So I still think Zetterlund and what he does, especially kind of being a huge, you've seen how he's taken William Eklund under his wing, right? And kind of being that big brother. And I fully expect, when now that Beasted's going to be over here, and Edstrom whenever he comes over. I wouldn't be surprised if you see kind of the same thing, and maybe Zetterlund is just the Swedish dad, right? And for now, or the Swedish big brother, and kind of helps these young guys and yes, I know Zetterlund's played 3 NHL seasons, but like kind of helps these guys to get acclimated, helps them to kind of learn what it's like to be an NHL player. We know Zetterlund takes care of his body. If you have not seen a picture of Zetterlund without a shirt on, just scroll on his Instagram page for like 2 minutes. The dude is absolutely jacked, just completely jacked. So dude knows how to take care of his body, and I think can help. That'd be crazy. William Eklund just shows up like Zetterlund, just like ripped like that. But you know what I mean? Like having a guy like that around as you're trying to build this culture, break away from all the losing. And I think having a guy like Zetterlund around can be a huge part of that. So we're months and from the season and the trade deadline and all that fun stuff, but I think Zetterlund is a long-term piece for the Sharks. And again, very curious to see how Mike Grier handles this, because I think this is going to be the first player that is going to be warrant of a big time ish contract. And how he handles this, I think, is going to send a kind of a big message to the Sharks and the locker room and stuff of, yes, you can, not everyone is just going to get shipped out of here. Zetterlund came in here, worked his butt off, kind of took advantage of his opportunity, hopefully earned that contract, and is going to be here for a while. We can stop messing around with this. Again, how do you start building towards something? And I think Zetterlund is a piece to build with because of the way he plays the game. I think there's a kind of untapped potential there, especially on the penalty kill, where I think he could be almost a weapon on the penalty kill. I want to see him can kind of continue to develop that. And just that Lund line was awesome at the end of the season last year. And I really want to see what happens when going into the season, everyone's spot is kind of secured, right? If you expect Eklund, Granlund, and Zetterlund to kind of lead the way, Eklund kind of taking that year to jump, Mikael Granlund continuing to play the way he's playing, I don't see why Zetterlund can't be a huge piece for the Sharks going forward. So that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back tomorrow as we kind of, continue to our season reviews. We got plenty of draft stuff coming up this week. So I know last week we didn't have a draft profile. We'll try to make it up here with 2 either this week or next week as, David Quinn kind of change the plans there. So make sure you guys are following wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.